The sterile fluorescent lights of Manhattan General Hospital cast harsh shadows across Alex Rivera's face as he sat in examination room 314, waiting for his annual executive physical. At 28, Alex had built Biogenesis into a $3 billion biotechnology empire, but success hadn't made him careless about his health. In an industry where one breakthrough could change the world, Alex maintained his body like he maintained his company, with precision and discipline. His phone buzzed with notifications from his assistant about the board meeting scheduled for later that afternoon, but Alex ignored them. These quarterly health checkups were sacred time, the only appointments he never rescheduled. Dr. Martinez had stepped out momentarily to retrieve additional forms, leaving Alex alone in the small room. The manila folder on the examination table caught his attention, thick with medical records and lab reports that the doctor had been reviewing before his interruption. Alex had always been curious by nature. It was what made him a successful CEO, the drive to understand every detail, every variable that might affect outcomes. Without thinking, he reached for the folder and opened it. The breath left his lungs in a rush. Staring back at him from a medical photograph was his own face. Same dark hair, same brown eyes, same distinctive scar above the left eyebrow from a childhood accident. But the name on the file wasn't his. Alex Rivera Jr., age 28, emergency contact, unknown. Alex's hands trembled as he studied the photograph more closely. This wasn't just someone who resembled him, this was like looking in a mirror. Every feature, every line, even the way the man's hair fell across his forehead was identical to his own. But Alex had never been to this hospital before today. And he certainly wasn't Alex Rivera Jr., he was just Alex Rivera, no junior, no senior. His father had died when Alex was 3 years old, long before he could have passed on his name to a son. Mr. Rivera? Dr. Martinez's voice startled Alex as the doctor returned to the room. I see you found Mr. Rivera Jr.'s file. Remarkable resemblance, isn't it? Alex looked up, his mouth dry. You know about this? Dr. Martinez nodded, settling into his chair with a curious expression. We've been treating Alex Rivera Jr. for about 6 months now. When I saw your name on today's schedule, I had to do a double take. Same name, same age, and when I pulled his photo. He gestured to the file. Well, you can see for yourself. Where is he? Alex asked, surprised by the urgency in his own voice. This Alex Rivera Jr., is he here now? That's the strange part, Dr. Martinez replied, pulling out another folder. Alex Rivera Jr. hasn't been seen in 2 months. He missed his last 3 appointments, which is unusual because his condition requires regular monitoring. Alex felt something cold settle in his stomach. What condition? Dr. Martinez hesitated, clearly wrestling with patient confidentiality. I can't share specific medical details, but I will say this: if Alex Rivera Jr. doesn't receive treatment soon, his condition could become life-threatening. The room seemed to spin around Alex. Here was a man who looked exactly like him, shared his name, was his exact age, and was potentially dying from a condition that required medical intervention. Dr. Martinez, I need you to be completely honest with me. Is there any chance that Alex Rivera Jr. and I are related? Brothers, cousins, anything? The doctor studied Alex's face thoughtfully. It's possible, but the resemblance is more than what we typically see in cousins. This level of similarity usually indicates immediate family, siblings, twins, or what? Or the same person living under 2 different identities. Alex stared at the photograph again, his mind racing through possibilities that seemed increasingly impossible. I can assure you, Dr. Martinez, I've never been to this hospital before today. I've never used the name Alex Rivera Jr., and I certainly don't have any medical conditions that require ongoing treatment. Dr. Martinez made a note in his file. Mr. Rivera, would you be willing to provide a DNA sample? If Alex Rivera Jr. returns for treatment, we could determine the exact nature of your relationship. Alex nodded, though his thoughts were already racing ahead to more immediate concerns. Doctor, you mentioned that Alex Rivera Jr. has an unknown emergency contact. Does that mean he has no family? According to his intake forms, he listed no next of kin, no emergency contacts, no insurance beneficiaries. It's quite unusual for someone his age. After completing his own medical examination, which, ironically, revealed perfect health, Alex left the hospital with a copy of Alex Rivera Jr.'s photograph and the man's last known address. Dr. Martinez had been reluctant to share the information, but Alex's combination of charm, persistence, and thinly veiled threats about patient safety had eventually worn down the doctor's resistance. The address led Alex to a rundown apartment building in Queens, worlds away from his own penthouse in Manhattan. The contrast was jarring. While Alex lived in luxury, his doppelganger apparently struggled to afford basic housing. The building superintendent, a weathered man named Carlos, was initially suspicious of Alex's questions about the tenant in apartment 4B. "You a cop?" Carlos asked, studying Alex's expensive suit and confident bearing. "No, I'm trying to find Alex Rivera Jr. It's a family matter." Carlos's expression softened slightly. "Family, huh? That kid could use some family. Keeps to himself mostly, pays his rent on time, but he's been gone for weeks. Getting worried about him, to be honest." "Gone where?" "No idea. Just stopped coming home. Left most of his stuff, though, which is weird if you're planning to move out." Alex felt his pulse quicken. Would it be possible to see his apartment? "I'm concerned about his well-being." Carlos hesitated, clearly wrestling with building policies against his genuine concern for his missing tenant. "I suppose if you're family, and you're worried about his safety." Apartment 4B was small and sparsely furnished, but what struck Alex immediately was how familiar it felt. The layout was different from his own home, but the organization, the choice of furniture placement, even the books on the shelves reflected preferences that could have been his own. On the kitchen table, Alex found a stack of mail addressed to Alex Rivera Jr. bills, mostly, but also several official-looking envelopes from government agencies. One letter, from the Social Security Administration, was particularly intriguing. "Mr. Rivera Jr., we have received your inquiry regarding duplicate Social Security records. Please contact our office immediately to resolve this discrepancy." Alex felt his heart rate spike. Duplicate Social Security records? In the bedroom, he discovered a shoebox under the bed filled with documents that made his blood run cold. Birth certificates, school records, employment history, and entire life documented in official paperwork. But according to these documents, Alex Rivera Jr. had been born in Phoenix, Arizona, attended Arizona State University, and worked a series of jobs in the Southwest before moving to New York 6 months ago. Alex had been born in New York, attended Columbia University, and had never lived anywhere else. Yet the birth date on Alex Rivera Jr.'s birth certificate was identical to his own, March 15, 1995. At the bottom of the box, Alex found something that made his hands shake, a photograph of 2 infants lying side by side in what appeared to be a hospital nursery. On the back, someone had written in faded ink, "Alex and Alex, March 15, 1995. Alex stared at the photograph, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. 2 babies, identical in every way, both apparently named Alex, both born on his birthday. His phone rang, startling him from his thoughts. It was his assistant, Sarah. "Alex, the board meeting is in 2 hours. Do you need me to reschedule?" Alex looked around the small apartment, at the evidence of a life that paralleled his own in impossible ways. "Sarah, I need you to do something for me. I need you to hire the best private investigator you can find. Immediately. Is everything okay?" Alex studied the photograph of the 2 infants again. "I'm not sure. But I think I'm about to discover that everything I know about my life might be wrong." That evening, Alex sat in his own apartment, staring at the documents he'd found in Alex Rivera Jr.'s bedroom. The private investigator, Marcus Webb, was already working on the case, but preliminary findings had only deepened the mystery. "According to my initial research," Marcus had reported over the phone, "Alex Rivera Jr. has a legitimate Social Security number, valid birth certificate, and documented employment history." But here's where it gets interesting. His social security number was issued in 1995, the same year as yours. The Social Security Administration doesn't typically issue duplicate numbers, which suggests either a clerical error or deliberate fraud. Alex spread the documents across his dining table, looking for patterns or clues that might explain the impossible situation. Two men, identical in appearance, with the same name, born on the same day, but living completely different lives. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Stop looking for me. Some secrets are too dangerous to uncover." Alex stared at the message, his heart pounding. Someone knew he was investigating Alex Rivera Jr., but who? And why was it dangerous? He immediately called Marcus Webb. "I just received a threatening text message. Someone knows about the investigation." "That was fast," Marcus replied grimly. "Which suggests that Alex Rivera Jr.'s disappearance might not be voluntary. Mr. Rivera, I think you need to consider the possibility that you're dealing with something more serious than a case of mistaken identity." "What do you mean?" "I mean that someone with the resources to create a complete false identity, birth certificate, social security number, employment records, isn't operating as a lone individual. This kind of documentation requires connections, money, and expertise. We might be looking at witness protection, espionage, or organized crime." Alex felt a chill run down his spine. "Are you saying I could be in danger?" "I'm saying that if Alex Rivera Jr. is hiding from dangerous people, and you're asking questions about him, those same people might decide you're a threat." After ending the call, Alex found himself pacing his apartment, trying to make sense of the situation. The logical part of his mind insisted there had to be a rational explanation: mistaken records, elaborate identity theft, some kind of administrative error that had created the appearance of a connection where none existed. But the photograph of the two infants haunted him. The physical resemblance was too perfect, too complete to be coincidental. Alex's laptop chimed with an email notification. The sender was listed as a friend, and the subject line read, "The truth about your brother." With trembling fingers, Alex opened the message. "Alex, if you're reading this, then you've found the apartment and the documents. You've seen the photograph of the two babies. Now you need to know the truth. You and Alex Rivera Jr. are identical twins, separated at birth. Your parents made a terrible decision 28 years ago, one that has put both of your lives in danger. Alex Rivera Jr. has been trying to find you for months, but dangerous people have been hunting him because of what he knows about your family's past. He's alive, but he's hiding. The people looking for him believe that if they can't find him, they can use you to draw him out. That's why you need to stop investigating immediately. If you want to protect both yourself and your brother, delete this email, forget what you've learned, and go back to your normal life. Some family reunions are worth dying for. This isn't one of them. A friend." Alex read the email 3 times, his mind struggling to process the implications. Identical twins? Separated at birth? Dangerous people hunting his supposed brother? But even as part of him wanted to dismiss the message as an elaborate hoax, another part recognized something that felt like truth. The physical resemblance, the shared name, the identical birth date, it all pointed to a connection that went deeper than coincidence. His phone rang. "Dr. Martinez from the hospital." "Mr. Rivera, I hope you don't mind me calling so late, but I've been thinking about your situation all day. I did some research into Alex Rivera Jr.'s medical history, and I found something troubling." Alex gripped the phone tighter. "What did you find?" "Alex Rivera Jr.'s blood work shows markers that are consistent with chronic stress and possibly drug-induced trauma. But more concerning is that his most recent tests showed evidence of being drugged with sedatives typically used in interrogation scenarios." Alex felt the room spinning around him. "Interrogation? Mr. Rivera, I think Alex Rivera Jr. might have been held against his will. And if someone was trying to extract information from him through chemical means, then his disappearance might not be voluntary." After ending the call, Alex sat in his darkened apartment, staring out at the Manhattan skyline. Everything he thought he knew about his life had been shattered in the space of 12 hours. Not only did he apparently have an identical twin brother he'd never known about, but that brother was potentially being held captive by people who might now be targeting Alex himself. The smart thing would be to follow the email's advice, delete everything, forget what he'd learned, and return to his carefully constructed life as a successful CEO. But Alex had built his career on solving complex problems, on refusing to accept surface explanations when deeper truths were waiting to be discovered. And somewhere out there, a man who shared his face and his blood might be in mortal danger. Alex made his decision. He opened his laptop and began typing an email to Marcus Webb. The investigation continues. Whatever the risks, I need to find my brother. As he hit send, Alex realized that his life as he knew it was over. Whether he found Alex Rivera Jr. or not, whether the dangerous people mentioned in the anonymous email came for him or not, he could never go back to being the man who didn't know his own history. For better or worse, Alex Rivera was about to discover what it truly meant to have family. The next morning brought developments that confirmed Alex's worst fears. Marcus Webb called at 7 a.m. with news that sent ice through Alex's veins. Alex Rivera Jr.'s apartment was ransacked sometime after your visit yesterday. Carlos, the building super, found the door broken and the place torn apart. Whoever did this was looking for something specific. Alex felt panic rising in his chest. Did they find what they were looking for? Hard to say, but they were thorough. Professional job, the kind of search you'd expect from people with training and resources. What about the documents I found? The photograph? That's the interesting part. According to Carlos, they left behind anything that wasn't directly related to personal identifications, clothes, furniture, books. But all documents, photographs, and personal papers are gone. Alex realized that by taking the photograph and some of the documents, he might have inadvertently saved the only evidence of his connection to Alex Rivera Jr. Marcus, I think I need protection. If these people are willing to break into apartments and potentially kidnap someone, they won't hesitate to come after me. I agree. I'm arranging for discreet security immediately. But Alex, there's something else. I ran a deeper background check on Alex Rivera Jr., and I found something disturbing. According to employment records, he was working for a company called Genesis Research until about 3 months ago. Alex's blood ran cold. Genesis Research is one of our biggest competitors. They've been trying to acquire our biotech patents for years. That's not a coincidence, Marcus said grimly. If Alex Rivera Jr. was working for your competitor and then suddenly disappeared around the time their acquisition attempts intensified, we might be looking at corporate espionage. The pieces were starting to fall into place, but the picture they formed was terrifying. Alex Rivera Jr. wasn't just his identical twin, he was potentially a corporate spy who had been inserted into a rival company to steal secrets. But if that was true, who had arranged it? And why? Alex's assistant, Sarah, knocked on his office door and entered with a concerned expression. Alex, there are 3 men in expensive suits downstairs asking to speak with you. They say they're from the FBI. Alex's stomach dropped. Did they show identification? Yes, and they seem legitimate. But Alex, they specifically asked about Alex Rivera Jr. Within minutes, Alex found himself in his own conference room facing 3 federal agents who looked like they'd stepped out of a government thriller movie. The lead agent, a woman named Special Agent Chen, got straight to the point. Mr. Rivera, we understand you've been asking questions about a man named Alex Rivera Jr. We need to know everything about your connection to him. Alex chose his words carefully. I encountered his medical records by accident and was curious about the resemblance. Why is the FBI interested in him? Agent Chen exchanged glances with her colleagues. Alex Rivera Jr. is a person of interest in a federal investigation involving industrial espionage and international intelligence operations. If you've had any contact with him, your own safety may be at risk. What kind of intelligence operations? The kind that get people killed, Agent Chen replied bluntly. Mr. Rivera, Alex Rivera Jr. was working undercover to infiltrate biotechnology companies and steal research data for foreign interests. But something went wrong, and he disappeared before we could bring him in. Alex felt the room spinning. Are you saying he's a spy? We're saying he's involved in activities that threaten national security. And if hostile foreign agents believe you have information about his whereabouts or activities, they won't hesitate to use extreme measures to extract that information. Agent Chen leaned forward. Mr. Rivera, I need you to understand the gravity of this situation. Alex Rivera Jr. isn't just someone who happens to look like you. According to our intelligence, he was specifically chosen for his resemblance to you as part of a long-term operation to infiltrate your company. The revelation hit Alex like a physical blow. They were planning to replace me? That's one theory. Create a perfect double, eliminate the original, and have their agent take over one of the most influential biotech companies in the world. Alex struggled to process this information. But why would Alex Rivera Jr. disappear if he was working for them? Because, Agent Chen said grimly, we believe he discovered something that made him realize the true scope of the operation. Something that made him try to defect. And now he's missing. And the people who trained him are looking for both of you. Agent Chen slid a folder across the table to Alex. Mr. Rivera, these are surveillance photos taken over the past 6 months. I need you to look at them and tell me if you recognize anyone. Alex opened the folder and felt his blood turn to ice. The photos showed him going about his daily routine, entering his apartment building, meeting with investors, dining at restaurants. But in several of the images, he could see other figures in the background, people who appeared to be watching him. How long have I been under surveillance? We estimate at least 6 months, possibly longer. The operation to replace you has been in development for a long time. Alex looked up from the photographs. Agent Chen, if Alex Rivera Jr. tried to defect, if he's trying to help you stop this operation, shouldn't we be trying to find him to bring him in safely? That's exactly what we're trying to do. But the people holding him have resources and connections that make them extremely dangerous. If we move too quickly or carelessly, they'll eliminate both of you rather than risk exposure. So what do I do? Agent Chen's expression was grave. You continue your normal routine, but with federal protection. You act as bait to draw out the people we're after. And you hope that Alex Rivera Jr. is still alive when we find him. As the FBI agents left, Alex sat alone in his conference room, staring out at the Manhattan skyline. In 24 hours, his entire understanding of his life had been demolished and rebuilt around a truth that seemed impossible to accept. He wasn't just a successful CEO who had discovered he had a twin brother. He was the target of an international conspiracy, a man whose life had been deemed valuable enough to steal, whose identity was worth killing for. And somewhere out there, a man who shared his face was fighting for both their lives. Alex picked up his phone and dialed Marcus Webb. Marcus, the FBI just told me that I'm bait in a federal operation. I need to know, do you think Alex Rivera Jr. is still alive? Based on what the agents told you about his disappearance and the timeline of events, I think he's alive, but probably not for much longer. If he really did try to defect, his handlers will eliminate him as soon as they're certain they can't use him anymore. Alex felt a desperate urgency building in his chest. Then we need to find him first. Alex, the FBI told you to wait, to let them handle this professionally. The FBI is thinking about national security and international relations. I'm thinking about saving my brother's life. Alex looked out at the city where somewhere, a man with his face was being held captive, possibly tortured, definitely facing death. The smart thing would be to trust the federal agents, to let trained professionals handle the situation. But Alex had built his success on taking calculated risks, on refusing to accept defeat when the stakes were high enough. And he had never encountered stakes higher than his brother's life. Marcus, I need you to find Alex Rivera Jr. before it's too late. Whatever it costs, whatever the risks, we find him first. As Alex ended the call, he realized that he was about to discover whether the bond between identical twins was strong enough to overcome a lifetime of separation, a web of international espionage, and enemies who would kill to keep their secrets hidden. For the first time in his life, Alex Rivera was fighting for something more important than business success. He was fighting for family. Retriclawed can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.